and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
Well, I think this is my favorite line.
Okay.
If sugar's so bad, how come Jesus made it taste so good?
Yes! I love that line too.
That's my favorite.
Oh my gosh. Yes, this is the
relate.
start of our townspeople.
Yes. And I have to say, like, before we get into the townspeople, I don't know if you noticed, but Anne literally answers no one's questions. And
Right.
I
She's
love
just
it.
so taken aback and shocked.
Yeah. She's like, this is so dumb. Like, she's just not even answering. And I absolutely love that.
Yes, 100%. So this guy's name that says this line about Jesus and sugar is named David Hattinger, and he was just in Mixed-ish, but he's been in a bunch of things as a guest star. But he also had a deleted scene where he asks Anne, it's so funny, he asks Anne to prove she's a nurse by asking her if the 5-second rule is true. And she's like, yes, it's true. And then he like leans down to bend over to like pick something up. And she's like, no, I mean, it's really not that true. Like, just leave it.
That's amazing.
And it's so funny. But you guys are going to hear a little bit of how the sausage is made because he's one of the ones that I'm going to talk to after we get off of our podcast. So I'm going to have a brief moment with him and I'm going to ask him about like his improv lines, if he had any, and how, like, because he obviously had 2 different lines. So I wonder how that all worked. So yes, thank you to David for doing that for us.
Yay.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
Hey, David, how's it going?
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing? Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me today.
You picked a perfect day. I'm just, laundry, cleaning, thinking
Classic
of
Sunday.
teach on Monday. Yeah, so perfect day.
That's awesome. And you said you're in Central Time. Whereabouts are you?
Yeah, I was in LA for 20 years, and then I escaped. I went to university, so I'm teaching at Nebraska Wesleyan. They needed an on-camera acting teacher, so I decided to go full-time. And I'm not going to stop acting, but I just thought it was a good time to do it because of COVID. LA just kind of went like this, and
I know.
Rose. So I said, okay, well, I'll go teach.
That's still so cool though. And you're like still in the same realm. You know what I mean? Like you can, yeah. I'm sure that, I don't know if they film in Nebraska necessarily, but like you're close enough or central enough that you could go back if you needed to. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. That's so fun.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I think it's really a cool show. I remember, when I got cast, they had just, they were entering their second season. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even a complete first season. They were a mid-season pickup. So they came in like January.
Oh, okay.
It was February, but it was, after Christmas and after the first of the year. And, they were just all excited because they were able to keep the show going because, the biggest constant in LA is shows getting canceled. That's
right.
That's the one guarantee.
Right, exactly. It's like saying the one guarantee of life is that you'll die.
You'll die. You don't have to pay taxes. You can go to prison, and you can, if you're lucky, be in a show, but it eventually will get canceled.
Right. Well, I'm glad that this one didn't before you got on, especially, or that it didn't get canceled really in general. But like, when did you audition for this show and what was your audition like? Like, did you get called pretty recent or pretty early on and everything after Christmas?
Yeah.
If you remember, obviously.
Yeah, as I recall, they were shooting in the fall, as fall bleeds into winter in December. I don't remember the exact date. I've got the contract. I could look if you wanted to. It'd take me 2 minutes, but because I keep all my contracts in a pile.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, you can tell me later. I'll follow up.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal piece of information. But what was interesting is nobody really knew what it was. It was something that kind of slipped under the radar. There were a lot of people that had watched it. I hadn't because I was active in the business. So there's so much in the business. I had not seen the first sliver, the first 10 to 12 episodes. And then
I don't think a lot of people had, honestly. I mean, I know some people had, but it really wasn't a big deal until like the end of season 2, early season 3, honestly.
I think that's fair. And I think, Offerman just became something incredible. And that didn't happen overnight. Everyone knew Poehler.
Yep.
But Poehler was really the only one that everybody knew because of SNL. But and before that, Upright Citizens Brigade. But oh my God, best casting director I ever had. I can't remember her name. I'll have to get that to you as well.
Was it Dorian Frankel?
A name sounds familiar.
Because she did, I mean, Allison Jones did like the lead casting, and then Dorian Frankel casted most of the townspeople / like the ancillary characters.
She was in Hollywood, off of Seward, and I remember going in, and she was just lovely. She was just lovely. It was the classic casting where you walk in the room, and it's a friendly human being who understands humanity. And it's not that that's rare. It happens. It's just the business makes it somewhat compressive, that kind of interview, that kind of exchange. So, but not this. She was actively recruiting me for the show. She was trying to make me get, it's what you want, right?
Oh, I love that.
And that doesn't happen as often as it should. No offense to the casting directors of the world, because they have a lot of things in the air. But she was dynamic and wonderful. And I remember walking out of the room going, well, that's probably the best casting experience I've ever had in my life. And I've done 100 professional gigs. So,
yeah,
that's saying something. She was, wow.
That's so cool. Well, if it was Dorian, I've heard that it sounds like her, because it sounds like everyone who's been in a room with her is like immediately falls in love with her and feels like immediately at ease.
Fantastic. And now I think she's over on Wilshire Boulevard. But anyway, I remember getting the gig and just thinking, okay, it's co-star, no big deal. And then I did some research, as I always was trained to do. So I did. And I went, oh, Nick Offerman's in it. I knew Nick from Chicago. So I went, okay, that'll be cool. I'll get to work with Nick. Amy Poehler's in it. Rashida Jones is in it. Wow, these are some
big deal
people. Yeah. So we met over at CBS Radford, which is in Studio City. It's a really cool lot. It's not a big lot, and old lot, but not a big lot. It's where they basically used to shoot MASH. So it's been around for a long time. And they did all their townspeople scenes in the high school that was just up the street. And, just up the street was the Hollywood Hills. So you had to go up into the hills into some, rich kid high school. And we'd take over the high school when they'd shoot, right? And so we're in a classroom for the holding. For the principals, and there were probably, I don't know, there were about 3 or 4 of us who weren't regulars, season regulars, who were had lines. So we were in a classroom, and then we walked over the hallway, and we went into basically an auditorium, and Amy is just going nonstop. It's like she's on batteries. She's just throwing shit out. I mean, she's just effortlessly and annoyingly funny. It didn't bother me, but
I love that.
You could tell if you were a rigid person, this was a tough day for you, because she's just bark, 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 funny, 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 funny.
Yes.
And the director, intelligently enough, is just letting her go. And whereas Rashida is just
a little more conservative.
totally kept. And Offerman's just big hair, big mustache. We're talking about, he used to be a company member with this group in Chicago called Defiant, and were crazy guys who just did crazy, fun, entertaining stuff. So we knew all these people. So we just started talking. Nick and I were just talking all day about all these jackasses back in Chicago who were just,
that's so cool,
best human beings of all time, best human beings. And so as a gig, I don't know, I say it's got to be top 10, because everybody was so excited about the fact that the show had gotten re-upped. And Offerman, hell, he had been such a nice guy because his wife had done uh,
Will and Grace.
yeah, Will and Grace for years. And she was a big deal in Chicago. She was a big deal with that show. And Nick is, as we all know now, solid, intensely talented guy, very fit.
Absolutely.
And he's getting his due. So it was
100%.
a rare experience.
Do you remember what your initial audition was? Was it any of the lines that actually got put in the show?
No, the famous line, if Jesus or sugar so bad, how come Jesus made it taste so good? That was an alt line.
Okay. Gotcha. Do you remember what your original line was? I
No.
know I'm going back to being so detailed.
No. I wish I did, but I mean, you probably wouldn't be because you've been doing these podcasts for a while, but most people would be surprised to hear how often in commercials, TVs and films, how the blue pages come in and you just go, okay, so what are we saying now? We're not saying what I memorized. So
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, you went in, and most people do this, I feel, when they're on the show, where it's like, okay, it's another audition, another co-star, like, I'm just going to do it and leave, like, and hopefully I get it, and hopefully it works, but if not, it's just that's just the job,
Always, you have to be 50% improvisational, and your process still has to be solid. I would say I did probably 4 alt lines. So I remember the director was very fluid. It was, okay, now say this.
Okay.
It's just, mic stand, mic, walk up to it, speak. So it was very basic. Over the shoulder on Rashida, over the shoulder on me, and then, single shot. It was very basic setup. I don't remember if it was multi-camera or not. I really don't. That was like 12, 13 years
Yeah,
ago.
I think it would have been single for this kind of like mockumentary style.
I think it had to be, but I don't remember, but it had to be. But here's the thing. I'd say we did 4 alts. And I remember when I did the Jesus line, I remember thinking, oh crap, that's funny. That's funny. So I had, I don't know. I must have had 10 seconds or less to think, okay, this guy's carrying a Bible in both hands. No offense to your Christian listeners. I'm not an awful person. I'm a really
this is the joke of it all, I feel.
Yeah, I'm a really good person. But just obviously, this is the person who, not to be judgmental, but this is the person who was raised to carry a Bible in both hands.
Yeah.
And, the classic allegory. So I just thought, okay, this guy's universe is very, very small. So I just came in and I just thought, well, I remember reading the book of John last night before I fell asleep. And I just remember that Jesus, said that all the things in the world are good. The things that God made. So then if sugar's so bad, how come Jesus made it taste so good? Is the way that because he just was in this finite, rigid,
absolutely
really nice guy, but just not, he would have a hard time if he was in a room with a transvestite, because he would just be looking the whole time going,
like, what is this?
Yeah. He just has
this sin?
He has a very narrow view of the world. I don't know. You can spend your whole life wanting to be in a perfect moment, but you can't construct them. It was Rashida's somewhat passive aggressive foil to Amy, me get hooked with her, and me being willing to be very minimalistic because of my theater training and the luck of it all. And then, years later, I remember in 2015, one of my students at Azusa Pacific, which is a school in my first teaching job, which was in California, said, Dave, you got merch. And I said, no, I don't. He goes, yeah, you got merch. And I said, no, I don't have merch. And he goes, yeah, you have merch. So if you Google the line, if Jesus is so bad, how come Jesus, It's, like T-shirts, mugs, posters.
That's crazy.
So I had no idea until 2015, many years later, that it was a famous line amongst Parks fans, not amongst the world, but amongst Parks fans. It was a famous. I had no idea. So I think that's why you got to be around young people, or you don't know anything.
You never find out. That's so funny. I feel like with The Office and Parks, I mean, many shows do this, but especially The Office and Parks, like fans will pick out such random lines and put them on a t-shirt or whatever, It's so funny.
It's a crazy following. I mean, we did it when I was your age. We did it with, Monty Python. We would go through the whole day and teachers would just be livid because we'd be doing Monty Python lines. Because stuff was hysterical. And it's just nice to know that comedy has survived.
Well, and now there's so many different platforms for it to stay alive as well, that's the true beauty of it. But I was also going to ask, so when you say alt lines, were you improvising at all on any fun runs, or was it mostly the director kind of handing you lines?
No, he really, since it was one of those days where I want to guess, not everybody made it into the final cut. Some people ended up on the floor. But I think if we look back on Sweetums, I think maybe there were 3 or 4 of us who got to speak into the mic.
Yeah.
I do remember, I don't remember what it was. I'm sorry. I do remember us vamping. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if I threw one in or not. But I do remember us vamping, Holly, and I don't think it was my own. I think it was typically in those situations, they'll let a name vamp and improv, but they typically won't let a non-name do that. It's not to say it doesn't happen. It does happen. Mm-hmm. But you're talking about consuming a lot of time. When
there was a deleted scene you had where you asked if how Anne could prove that she was a nurse and if the 5-second rule was real, and she was like, "Yes, I mean no, no, it's not." And you lean over to pick something up.
Did they have that?
They had it in the deleted scenes because I've got all the DVDs. So yeah, I did see that.
No, I do remember that, the 5-second rule. That was an alt line. That was on the set. I learned that one. And I remember that Rashida broke on that because she thought that was so gross. And that kind of got her. The whole 5-second rule was an ew. It was an ew moment.
Yeah.
And the way that I think the director actually had me do something with the floor as well. And
you were like leaning over to pick something up.
Yeah.
As if something had fell or had fallen, and you were like, can I still eat this, basically?
Yeah. It was the same tack. It's really what they wanted from me, was that innocent discovery kind of guy. It's funny because if you look back into the 40s, 50s, when they first started doing TV, these characters really haven't changed that much. The stock characters really haven't changed that much. They're always looking for the bumbling idiot who's pretty sotto voce and, kind of underplayed. And then they always want the braggadocio, ass who just can't hear enough of his voice. And then they want the slutty girl, and then they want the girl who's, very controlling and mean-spirited. I mean, very little has changed in comedy. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, just an evolved blueprint a little bit.
Yeah, and it's contemporaneous, so it's, we can relate to it now. But yeah, I played a lot of dummies in the world, and sometimes it bums me out because I consider myself to be pretty funny and smart.
That is the funny part, though. Not everyone can play that, I feel.
No, you have to be
I don't
really
think so. Willing. I mean, I think that's the common misconception, right? That comedy is like super easy because it's just laughing and it's fun and whatever, but it's so much work and it's all about timing and you have to be quick and smart, and it's just like, it's really not easy.
No, and you got to listen, the programs out there, the schools, and then the studio places where you can go to major cities and you didn't go to college. It's all about listening. It's all Meisner. It's all back and forth. It's all interaction.
Yeah, the listening part, for sure. Like, no one really does that in real life. So to put it into some sort of, actual monetized, like, skill, is definitely it's a big deal. It's different.
I'm teaching my students right now. I mean, the biggest thing that we come back to all the time is it's all about breath. It's all about, you're listening to somebody, you're inhaling, and then the exhale, you're speaking, but it has to be a give and take. You go in with what you want to do, and then you end up, sometimes scrapping that, sometimes modifying it.
Well, were there any other memories that you've got of being on set? It sounds like you had a lot of other things going on that you already talked about, but I didn't know if you had any other memories from other people or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple. I'd say the most prominent one was, well, as I alluded to before, we all began over at CBS Radford, which is on Ventura, and then we went up the hill. And luckily, I got put in everything's van based, right? So there are all these white vans. Luckily, they have windows on them, so it's not like the creepy white van.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of those in the film industry too. But they don't ferry actors in those. But you get, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but they put, it's those vans that have the driver and then the passenger, and then they've got typically 2, sometimes 3 more rows, depending on the size. Well, it's the driver, and then it's Amy in the front seat, and she got in last. And then I'm sitting next to Nick, and Rashida's on my right.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and then there's the guy who is the Sweetums guy. I can't remember his name. He's such an interesting
Don
guy.
McManus, I think, maybe.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
And interesting side note about him: he's former military family. So he brings a bag with him to the gigs. And I've done a couple of gigs with him. And he brings a bag that literally has everything that he'll need for the day. Like anything conceivable. Like if he had a bout with tetanus, he had something.
He'd be ready.
It's just amazing. But it's not a huge bag, but it's a really well thought out bag.
Yeah.
But to the point of anal retentive that it's, woo.
That's hilarious.
Great guy. And he's in the back. And then one of the other speakers, I think it was the guy with the big eyes. If you look at my take, it's the guy who's right over my shoulder, who's got the big eyes, who's like, itching to be next in front of the microphone. So it's us in the van, and Amy's just, repulsively funny, and we're only in the van for, I don't know, 15 minutes, 10, 15. It's impossible to tell. Because it's just this slurry of banter between, Offerman just being very, low voice and very, this and that. And then Amy is, shit, all over the place. And then Rashida's just sitting there, and she'll ask me one question. I don't know what the hell it was, but it's I'm having the ball. And I'm just it's the worst. It's like being on the set of Best in Show or waiting
like the famous
for
clown car.
Oh my God. It's just a bunch of improvisational idiots. And the driver's just, probably going, oh my God, I just hope I don't crash into,
right.
some Mercedes. But so there was that experience. And then
That
we got
is wild. I can't even imagine.
The names just get out of the van and they go, of course, to a separate location. And we just got out and went to craft services and made sure the second assistant, knew where we were, because that's what you do. You get to report to the second assistant director, and then they tell you where to go. And you say, I'm going to go over to the John. I'm going to go get craft. But then the other one that I remember that was very, very interesting was at one point, the director lost control.
Okay.
Because you got Polar on the set, right? So, and it was obvious that, and I can't remember, the construct is they're on the stage, right? So you've got Rashida and you've got Amy and you've got Nick are on the stage, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got the Sweetums rep guy. And it's just the director at one point literally looked back at us and just goes, and he just, and then I remember he goes over, I think he went over to the DP and he goes, are we still rolling? And he goes, well, just let it go. So he would just countless times I mean, countless times, Holly, he would just, and I've seen this before, but never to this degree. It was like doing Jackie Gleason and the Honeymooners, because they were famous for just not rehearsing, just at all. He just didn't believe in it. So he's just rolling, and half of it is just, repulsive. It's just, I don't want to mess up your editing, but just, motherfucker, and just everything, just
you can curse.
Unusual. She's dropping the C-bomb, and this is a really fun, you can tell, good-natured person, but it's just unbridled. And I've been to rodeos and hog calling contests, and I've never seen anything quite that weird.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Actually, it's tracking, because so we talked to one of the co-stars, townspeople. Jeffrey Markle is his name, and he is the chanting guy that was like ham and mayonnaise, and he said the same thing, where he was told to do like a fun run kind of situation, and he was like, none of it was usable for broadcast television, and I took that to mean like, because it was super inappropriate. So I was like, this makes total sense.
It's nice, though, to say that, having been an experience like that at this age, in this bank and shoal of time, it is nice to see that the world has gotten safer for, people of color, women. It's safe set now, right? Its behavior is bizarre and lurid and grotesque at times, but it's not racist or sexist, So nice
it's
to
not
know.
Harmful. It's all in service to the
well,
joke.
I don't know if it's completely unharmful, but it's not. But it's not unsafe when it comes to really rampant shit that used to happen in the old days. People are still meant to feel uncomfortable. It's comedy, but it's not unsafe. So that was the interesting thing about that. I think that was the first time where I saw comedy being done in a way that was still pedal to the metal, all the way.
Yeah.
But it wasn't harmful to women the way that it used to be. It used to be you would kind of walk off a set and you go, oh shit, that's
like, should we have done all that? Yeah.
That's kind of ugly, yeah. Or the way they
That's
used
awful.
to in the 90s, the way they used to treat, LGBTQ. Yeah. So it was interesting. The timing of that show was the last thing I would say to answer your question is I noticed that show was kind of the beginning in my career of that hard shift to the left where, the set had become a different place.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a bunch of guys saying inappropriate shit.
Yeah. That's kind of great to hear.
I mean, now you've got a woman who's the lead, who was very successful on SNL, arguably one of the more successful people ever, because she was so willing to be ugly or inappropriate, and it really was her show.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of nice. I mean, I'm not some big feminist. I support feminist causes. I'm not going to lie to you. Some guys,
of course.
Some guys lie and say they are. I'm not. I'm just so satisfied to see that a woman's voice, it wasn't crowded out by a bunch of shitty guys who never had any class or. Yeah, so that was it. I mean, it was just, I would say that the van was the biggest, though. I mean, I'm going to be haunted. I tell my on-camera acting students all the time. I mean, I just wish to God that these were more important. I've got a 13 now, but they just weren't.
iPhone 13. Oh my God, that's a big deal.
It is a biggie, but the 2008, 2009 era, 12 years ago, iPhones weren't as big of a deal. I don't even know what version it was back then, but and the cameras certainly wasn't very good. But I wish to God I could have whipped my phone out and gotten that on camera, because that really kind of personified what a hit show feels like.
Yeah. It shall live on forever in your mind.
Oh, yeah. Hey, really happy that you're doing this. Thank you so much for thinking about me.
Of course. I'll tag your IMDb. Like, I'll put the link in the show notes and everything as well, so that people can know who you are. Are you on social media or anything like that? Can I tag you? Or
I used to be, I'm going to come back to it, but I decided to take a year off. I literally put in my calendar, take 12, because I just got so sick of how, 50% of it, to be honest, 50% of it is just lovely. But I got just so sick of the cowards who say shitty things on it and have no,
Yeah.
I've been doing it since the very beginning, Instagram too. But I'm going to go back because I really love it. But I just told all my friends, 1,000 of them, I said, fuck, I got to get out of this
Yeah,
system.
peace.
But I'm going
I know. I
to
barely
go back.
use Facebook anymore for that reason. But Instagram, I think my algorithm has gotten into like a good space because I'm like always selecting like happy videos or like cat videos or something. So it just like comes up randomly. You are in control of it for the most part, as long as you don't click on shitty things. Obviously, Twitter is like a nightmare. So like that shit will come up regardless. But
it does.
yeah, I understand completely.
But I'm going to go back because it's still one of the best ways to score a gig.
Yeah.
I mean, you said you're an actor. I mean, yeah, agency is always going to be the best
It's a
way.
big deal. Like your online presence for if you're in this business is very important.
It can.
I mean, it's a necessary evil, I feel. But again, as long as you make it like what you want it to be, that's the key.
Well, I got an episode of Monk because of my affiliation with Facebook. I mean, that's
really?
That's ridiculous if you look at it as a construct, considering, SAG-AFTRA goes back to 1933.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it is now a part of the construct of casting. I don't know how much, percentage-wise, but yeah. But well, I was really a pleasure meeting you. You really sound like you've got yourself in the right trajectory. Thanks for shooting me the email for my kids. They'll get a kick out of it.
Yay! Thank you so much for being so willing to talk to me. Literally anything that we can get from Parks and Rec, we will take it. And I'm so honored to have you on the show. That's so awesome. Thank you. I
really enjoyed it. And thank you so much for being so classy and upbeat. And I hope that you get out the other end of this COVID thing and you have a bang-up career.
Thank you so much. Hey, listen, speaking of that, because speaking of upbeat, I consider myself a Leslie, if there was one in real life. And I was wondering if you have a character, if you do watch the show, that you resonate the most with. Oh,
I think it's got to be Nick.
Really? Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. That's a great one.
I'm a real fun-loving guy, but I've always identified with his, it's just kind of, because I believe in yin and yang. I mean, I get real high and I get real low, and I love when he gets, in a shitty, meaty,
super
big.
Stern.
It's just because it was my dad and my brothers like that. So
oh sure.
I think it's hysterical. I do it kind of as a put on.
Yeah.
by my stern. But I think that Nick, his character is probably one of my heroes because he found a way to make an asshole funny, and that's hysterical.
Oh, he's so good. And his whole trajectory over the whole show of like him kind of being an ass, and then he turns into like such a vulnerable like family man. It's awesome, but like still keeping in touch with himself too. So I love it. I love Nick.
One of the great creations of all time. One of the great creations of all time. Yeah, I just really enjoyed today. Thank you. You gave me a reason to go on. That's all we're looking for in this business. I can tell you, I've been a professional actor for 30 years in the union, and I tell you, you need little moments to remind you that this is a beautiful craft. Aww. It's a beautiful industry, and
It's so glad you were a part of it. So honored to talk to you today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you again so much.
Thanks, Holly. Take care of yourself.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
The second lady, who we love, she says, but isn't all food bad for you? I've been eating lasagna and muffins every day of my life for 40 years, and I feel terrible. And Ron is like nodding along with her, saying like, yeah, see? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. But
she's the snail lady, right?
Yeah, this, what do you mean snail lady?
Or the slugs. Like
Yes, I think yes, that's her. And yes, it's her. And she's also the one that makes sun tea out of the contaminated water in the parks when Ron is having to sit at the donut circle thing in the office. And she like runs around his desk being like, excuse me, sir, did you know that your water is contaminated? But she doesn't have, I'm so upset about this because she doesn't have any information listed on IMDb. I couldn't find her on social media. Like, I even tried to find a website. I couldn't find her, but her name is Sarah Van Horn, and I am so obsessed with her because she is so funny. But she was actually, if you guys remember, we have a lot of Office crossover, but she was the store worker in the Office for Michael's birthday when Jim and Pam go to like Walgreens or whatever drugstore, and Pam gets on the microphone and says, "Luke, I am your father." She's the one that's like,
Miss?
Don't do that. Miss.
Yeah.
Get off there, please. But yeah, so, and she's also the lunch lady in Community. If anyone watches that was one of her also more notable like character roles. But yeah, I love her so much. And hopefully by the time we get to that one episode about the sun tea or the slugs, like I'll have some information about her because I love her so much.
Yeah, she's great. I like her a lot.
And then we've got another townsperson. This is the one who says corn is a fruit and syrup comes from a bush.
Obviously.
I love this guy. So this is the guy who tries to get people to chant with him. And you'll probably, if you are familiar with the show, which I'm sure you are, he is the one that, well, first of all, in this one he does, we should have ham and mayonnaise sandwiches, which by the way, I think it's funny how he says mayonnaise, because I say mayonnaise, like mayonnaise kind of thing. And I like how he says mayonnaise. It's definitely more like country-ish, I feel, which I don't know. I'm sure that wasn't on purpose. But anyways, I call him the chanting guy. Like I literally call him that.
Because he does except for turnip, right?
Oh, yeah.
In the time
except
capsule.
for turnip, yes. And the one that I really like notice him or remember him for is when Leslie is doing the PPPPP or whatever, and she's like debating on which kind of games should be in the rec center, and and this one lady says something about Chutes and Ladders, and he's like, Chutes and Ladders is stupid and like immature or whatever, and she's like, my daughter's 9, like she would like Chutes and Ladders, and he's like, her daughter is an idiot, her daughter is an idiot.
Yeah.
That's one I remember. But his name in real life is Jeffrey Markle, and he was also just in the American Crime Story one, the impeachment one. If you've seen, you should look at the trailer for that. It looks really good. I haven't watched it yet, but he also messaged me back.
Yay.
So Jeffrey, thank you so much for that. I will play your clips, but before I do that, I also wanted to let everyone know that he is also a musician. I went on his website and I found a couple of clips of him playing. He does, for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeffrey, when you listen to this, but it kind of sounds more like a rockabilly kind of like Elvis-y mixed with Johnny B. Good type music, which I liked it. I like his voice. He's got a very like country kind of rock and roll situation going on. But yeah, so check that out. I'll link it in the show notes. And in the meantime, I will tell you, I asked him so many questions. I actually did better than last time, I think, because, and by last time, I mean, like, I always ask so many people, like, what, like 800,000 questions.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did an okay job with only asking him like 4 or 5. Okay, yeah. So I asked him about his audition. And that is this one.
I do remember the audition. I can't remember the line that I had. It was not the same line that I ended up doing in the show. It was one line as the angry man. But I will never forget that my cue line was, "Do you have any questions?" So I was the first one to read for the role. I walked into the casting director's office and introduced myself. She says, "This show is a lot of fun, so have a lot of fun with this." And after a pause, she said, "Do you have any questions?" So I deliver my line as best I can. She says, "Do you have any questions?" Now, as an actor, I'm thinking, okay, she didn't like my delivery, so I'm going to do something different. So I give her my line again with a little extra take, a little extra flair. And she says, Jeffrey, the camera is not rolling. I'm asking you, do you have any questions about this scene? And I kind of stammered. I said, no, I don't. And she said, okay, fine, then let's do a take. It was at this moment that she looks down and realizes that her line, my cue, is, do you have any questions? She bursts out laughing. I start laughing, relieved that she knows that I'm not just an insane person with no social skills. And we do a take, and a couple days later I get a call and I'm on the show.
Isn't that so crazy?
That's awesome. Wow.
I know. I feel like I would be so taken aback as well. I'd be like,
I'd freak out. Yeah.
Yeah. So remember how I said that I call him the chanting guy because that is just how I see his character, which, by the way, I think it's really hilarious that he came in for angry man, quote unquote, just like Mel did with red-faced man.
Right.
I feel like all these townspeople are just generally angry. But anyway, so I asked him about, the improvising and the chanting and like if he made that up or how that all worked out. And this is what he said.
As a rule, the way it worked on set was we would do one take by the script. We would do a second take where the writers would give us some alternate lines or just say something about something, make something up. And then we always got to do a third take where anything goes. And I'll tell you that 90% of what was filmed in those takes was not suitable for broadcast television, but the moments that they kept from those takes ended up being some of the funniest moments on the show. So that's just the way it was working on that show. It was very relaxed and you were encouraged to be funny. As far as the chanting, I had my first line about the corn syrup and, syrup coming from a bush or whatever it was. And one of the writers came up and said, say something about ham and mayonnaise sandwiches and get the crowd going with you. So I said the thing about throwing away the bars and eating ham and mayonnaise sandwiches, and then I started the chant, ham and mayonnaise, ham and mayonnaise, ham and mayonnaise. So when I was called back for a second episode, they had me chanting something about my cat. And then the third episode, when I got my script, I noticed that I actually had a name. They had named me Chance Friendlum. My agent called. She said, this is a big moment. They've given your character a name, but I think you're Swedish. And that's how I got the name Chance.
I love that so much.
Wow, that's great.
Especially his name is now Chance, because I was like, he's the chanting guy, right? Like, that is just so funny. Like, Chance is a way more brilliant / comedic way to actually have a name for a character instead of chanting guy.
Oh my gosh. He's such a good storyteller too.
Totally. He like really hooks you in with his like soft voice and slow kind of like, not slow, but you know what I mean? Like keeps the pace right.
Yeah.
But I also really liked the way that he said the chanting came about because, when he says, get the crowd going with you or whatever, there were so many different ways that you could have done that. You could have riled them up by saying like, right guys, come on, cheer with me kind of thing. But he took it to another level and that's why he got the chanting name, which I think is just like so cool to me to hear that story.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. And then I also, this is the last thing I'll play. He said, or I asked him where these town halls were because he was in a number of them and I really wanted to know where they filmed those. So that's what I asked him next.
For this episode, which was my first town hall meeting, we used the multipurpose room of an elementary school on Colfax Avenue in North Hollywood. My second town hall meeting was in the multipurpose room of a private school up in Studio City. And from then on, we had our own sound stage at CBS Radford Studios in Studio City.
So I think we knew about the Radford one because we've talked to many a guest star about that. But I think when he said the North Hollywood location for the first one, it sounds like this might be the same auditorium as the first pilot episode when they had to move from the auditorium when the lights shut out to go into that small elementary middle school looking room.
Yeah.
So I think it's either North Hollywood Middle or North Hollywood High. I don't remember which one it is, but that's what it looks like from what I can picture.
No, that's cool. And this is actually, I think they reuse this again.
I think they do too.
Several
Multiple
times. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then the very, I said this was the last thing, but I wasn't going to play it because I was just going to tell you, but I feel like it would be nice to hear it from him. I asked him how it was working with Rashida, so this is what he said.
Okay.
Working with Rashida Jones was a lot of fun. She was lovely. As everybody on that cast, like I said, was very generous and giving and always made you feel like you were welcome on the set. Because of the nature of the scene, me being out in the crowd and her being up at the Diaz, I really had very little contact with her other than to say good evening and good night when we finished. But by the time I came back for another episode, she had left the show to pursue her own show.
So yeah, it sounded like it was a nice experience, but yeah, it would make sense that he didn't really get to share that much time with her.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing when he said her own show, do you think it's that one?
Angie Tribeca?
Yes, that one. You think it was that one?
I think it was that one. The
Okay.
timing was right for me when she left the show and then when that came out.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, so I also asked him as well, if we could message him, for future episodes that he's in and see if either he wants to review it or just be answer some questions perhaps or whatever. And he said he would be definitely up for it. I also wanted to mention that he said that he had a golf tournament coming up. So I want to extend our luck and well wishes to him in that tournament. So
Yes,
we are
definitely.
thinking about you and we really, really appreciate you spending the time to give us some of your answers. I am so over the moon that both him and Brooke messaged us. And those answers, I feel like any tidbits I get, especially things that you just don't know happened behind the scenes, especially with the improv and whatever, just make my heart soar. So I'm so grateful.
100% agree.
But yay.
Yay.
There's also... I don't think this was a deleted scene where a townsperson wants to know if Anne is really a nurse and then asks for her number or email and says he just got on AOL.
That's what I have. I just got on AOL. I was like, seriously? In 2010?
Yeah,
Dude.
that's Pawnee, it sounds like. It reminded me, because it tracks with the whole, I don't want to tell them what happens to Kurt Cobain in 2000 whatever.
In 1994? Yeah.
Yeah. But I couldn't find this guy on IMDb. I definitely would have messaged him, but I couldn't find him. Maybe I missed it. But yeah, so those are our townspeople. Thank you again to Brooke and Jeffrey. We are so grateful.
Yes,
and we'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah. And we are back.
And
at
also
Tom's,
thank you to
right?
David, obviously,
yeah.
because I will be talking to him soon.
Yeah.
But yes, we are back at Tom's packing,
And he's talking on the phone and ordering pad thai for one person. Okay. First of all,
hate it, kill it.
I have
No
feelings.
scallions. Gross.
Yeah. Then people are walking boxes out and he's telling Andy, well, I just saw Mark walking around with manipulation. Andy has a clipboard. And I'm like, don't even act like you had any plan here. There's no rhyme or reason to what's happening.
I thought about that too. I was like, what is even on this clipboard? How dare you?
He's just holding it so it looks like he's in charge and he doesn't have to carry anything.
Oh my God. Yes, this is where some of those deleted scenes that I was talking about were in here, and I'm really glad they cut them because I do think that some of them were alternate scenes as opposed to all deleted. But they're even worse. He is ordering Timberlands on in addition to ordering a pad thai. He's which he already that wasn't a deleted scene. I think he was already doing that. But there were the alternate scenes or whatever is where he asks Mark to heat up a burrito in the fridge, and then like as Mark is walking past him, and he's like, oh, and some sour cream on the side would be great. And then he eats the burrito in front of everyone as they're walking by him. And then April comes out with a box, and she goes back in to get another one, and he's like, hey, April, can you go get that mango juice in there? And then he goes like, come on guys, pick it up, I don't want to be here all day. And I was like, no. And he's ordering more stuff over the phone. So I'm really glad that they cut that line. Even though it seems so minimal, I was like, absolutely. But
just on top of everything else that's already happened, I'm just, how can you be so far from thoughtful
reality and just like courtesy at all?
It's upsetting.
Yeah. And then Donna only wants one box in her car.
Yep, she's done. And Tom's like, there's plenty of room in your truck. And they're having to toss boxes on the top.
Oh my God, that scene is so funny. My pocket squares.
Yeah. Which, like, they're not breakable. Why are you concerned?
I know. That's the funniest part. But there's this deleted scene too, which I'm kind of glad they cut this too, which I'll explain why in a minute. But so Tom asks Donna, like, how do you even afford this car? And then they have another talking head, much like one that got cut in a previous episode, that said, like, I'm in way over my head. And basically, just reaffirming that she is in debt. And it's just really fun. I actually really appreciate that they cut it, if I'm being honest, both of those ones, because I really like this whole like vibe of Donna just being like, a gangster, and she just has all this shit and she's like super cool and rolling in it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I really like that idea instead of her being in debt.
Yeah, and they follow through more so with that, because later she buys that whole stock in Snake Hole by herself. And so I think they just get rid of the whole debt.
Right. I agree. So I'll keep you posted with any other deleted scenes as we move forward. But yeah, I really like that she's just has her Mercedes and she's very comfortable with saying no to people about how it's used.
Yeah.
I love her like delivery of putting like her body language of putting the box in so carefully and slowly, and like nothing else can be around it. Gives it a wide berth.
Yeah. I love it.
But well, now I'm back at the town hall if you are.
Yeah. And they're showing the video, right? Mm-hmm. And Nick, this is another way that they were really consistent, right? Because the actor of Nick Newport Sr., they keep, and they just make him look really old in later episodes.
Yes.
So I thought that was really well done, that they kept the same person instead of just finding an older guy.
Yes. I love that too.
Yeah.
So. And he's like, I also love that this Sweetums guy, like at the convention itself, or not convention, public forum itself, is like smiling so wide at this video that's meant to be so clearly awful. but anyway, no, but Nick Newport Sr., aka president of Sweetums, messaged me back too.
What?
Mr. Sweetums himself.
Oh my gosh. He's a pretty big actor too.
Oh my God, I can't even get over it. So he's done a ton of stuff. He was also in Zoe 101, if anyone remembers that. I didn't have time to get his voice memo. He didn't respond back to that one yet, but I'm sure he'd be interested. But I want to read you his email that he emailed me back because it is so funny. So I basically messaged his manager, and then he messaged me, and I was like, I want to hear stories, whatever. And he goes, "Greetings. I received your inquiry via my manager and be delighted to participate in your podcast. Until then, I remain fat, happy, and docile, just like those Sweetum cows."
Way to know your brand, dude.
And he wrote, I don't know if this is his signature or if he just wrote it specifically to me, but his signature says, "Sincerely, Christopher Murray, a.k.a. Nick Newport Sr."
Love it. Oh, I love it so much. Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm so excited.
It's so good. So, Christopher, thank you for messaging me back, and we would be happy to have you on sometime or get a voice memo, because I can't even believe that Mr. Sweetums, his hot damn self, is in my inbox.
Well, he's in an episode this season again.
Oh yeah, which
because
one is that
it's his birthday, and Jessica's tearing down the gazebo.
Wiggs comes in.
Yeah, so maybe he can join us on that one. That would be
fun. Oh my God, I can't even handle it. But in this video, he's saying corn syrup is currently being used by farms and factories.
fatten.
This is evidently when it's, had just been discovered. It's a cheaper, easier way to add sugar to things. And because they discovered it, that's a way to fatten up pigs and cows. And I love his line or his delivery of us, look how fat those pigs are. So gross and so true.
Oh, yeah, he does a great job.
Mm-hmm. And then we have a star come in. Nick Newport Jr. comes back, and him and Denver and Dakota are all in the flesh wearing their same vests.
Yes.
What a family.
What a family. It makes me wonder if are they all hired or are they an actual
good
family?
Question.
Because we don't see them at all when Bobby's running for office. And you'd
I
think
know,
that
they
he would
definitely
use
don't bring
them,
him
right?
back. Is that, who's Bobby's dad? Is Bobby Newport's dad Nick Newport Jr.
Yeah.
or Sr.?
Senior.
Oh, obviously it would be Junior. That's stupid. I'm sorry. Okay, interesting. I would love to know if they asked and then didn't get any response, or like if he was doing other things, or if they didn't even bother to ask because it was Paul Rudd and they're like, he's enough.
He's enough, yeah. I don't know, because here's my interest.
That's fascinating.
My interest is Bobby, is he the only son that he had? And he's so embarrassed by him that he hired this other little family to like be the face of it.
That is fascinating. I think that's a continuity error because Nick Newport Jr., if that truly is the son, unless they had Bobby later in life, because we would need to do the math, because how old would Denver and Dakota be?
They look 8, 9.
Yeah. So by the time we get to Bobby, how old would they be when we get to Bobby in his adulthood? Like, are they like way
13.
older and Nick Newport Jr. had Bobby way later?
No. I think it's Nick Newport Sr. is his dad, not Jr.
Is Bobby's dad?
Yeah. So Nick Newport Jr. would be his brother.
Oh, I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Because remember his dad dies.
Chain, like senior to junior, then junior to Bobby.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
got it.
because Nick Newport Sr. dies, remember?
Right.
And that's his dad.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So Nick Newport Jr. and Bobby are brothers. Okay. But they never mentioned
Or are
Nick
they?
Newport Jr. I know.
That's what I'm saying.
Ooh.
Because what a stick to Bobby that if he hires these people to be the face of his company, he gives the other guy his name.
That
and calls him
is
Junior.
Fucked. Okay, we need some answers. Mike Schur and Greg Daniels and Amy Poehler.
Answer our
That is
questions.
fascinating. Oh my God. My mind is a little blown right now.
Yeah. This has been on my mind probably since the second time I watched this season through. Are these people real? Especially after Bobby exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if Bobby has that huge house, wouldn't Nick Newport Jr. have his own like big house or something? Or like when they live in the same, I don't know. Okay.
I think Bobby lives with Nick Newport Sr., if I'm being
Senior.
honest.
Yeah. You're
I
probably
don't think
right.
he's out on his own.
Yeah, he did say that's true. That's a good point because Nick Newport dies like in that house. Because Jen Barkley is like, there's a dead guy in one room.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God. Okay, well, that is something that we need to follow up on. Hopefully somebody can give us some guidance or they can just tell us, oh, well, we didn't know that Paul Rudd would want to be a part of this show or whatever. Oh my God, that's so funny. Oh my God. Okay. Well,
Anyway.
Now we're back at Tom's house. April's holding a hose and Andy's drinking from it. And then her boyfriends walk up and they have super judgy faces on.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't heard from either of them and I'm really sad about it, but it's fine. I still like them a lot. But I hope that they message us soon.
Yeah.
Because we only have a few more episodes, I think, until they're not going to be on here.
One more.
Sad.
Yeah. But they're awful. They're awful boyfriends to her.
Yeah, they're being really like the opposite of what you would think an open person / open-minded person people would be.
Right. Yeah, they're being awful. And I don't know if April's changed or she was leaning so heavily into being this weird, out of the norm person. And then when she met Andy, she was like, that's not actually who I am.
Yeah.
I
think that it sounds like April, I don't know if this piggybacks or just goes on a different direction, but it sounds like April used to be very similar to them. And so I think she's changed because I think that it sounded like the boyfriends would be like, yo, you used to like make fun of those people with us. Like we would all do this together, you know?
Yeah.
And now that she's like learning more about Andy and like who he really is as a person, and growing and maturing a little bit more, I think she's changed her tune a little.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
I also love, I know that this isn't the first time he does this or the only time he does this, but I love when Andy does his little Dave Matthews thing. A little baby. I think it's so funny
good.
and stupid.
I'm also really proud that we did that in the same key.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yes, pitch memorization, truly,
Yes.
from watching this so many times.
Yes. Beautiful.
So then we get to, or did you have anything else to say about the boyfriends?
No, I'm back where they're doing the vote.
Okay, well, before that, I think we've gotten to Tom's talking to Wendy, and she's saying it's like the end of an era. And the way that she says it, she's like, it's kind of sad. It seems kind of like almost patronizing a little bit, but I think she's trying to be genuine, but she's like not meaning it as much as she wants to mean it. So that's where the patronizing might come off, like kind of babyish, not, I don't know. But I'm sure she does mean a little bit, but it just doesn't sound fully truthful or genuine yet. And then she offers to order them pizza. And then when she leaves, she's like, I don't know. Just, again, this goes back to my feeling of like when she leaves, she's like, bye. And it's like they didn't even have a relationship at all. Like she's just gone and it's a little awkward goodbye. But you can clearly, I mean, for me, it's like you can clearly tell that they won't be in touch. And I don't know, after she said the whole 2 years thing, I kind of had to do a double take, like as an audience member being like, oh, that was 2 years is kind of a long time to like live together and not really have any sort of like
Feelings about
deep
leaving.
relationship or whatever. Yeah. Or like nothing more than just an awkward moment kind of thing. But they do have some cute banter and deleted scenes, which I have a very gasp worthy deleted scene later that I'll share with you. But she says, like, I'll order you a pizza in the deleted scene, but I'm not going to stick around because I don't want your friends asking questions. And that's why she's, like, not there. So that's very sad.
Yeah, that is sad.
But anyways, yes. So, yeah, now they're back at the, at the town council. And somehow a Nutri-Yum bar got under every seat in that auditorium. I don't know how.
Except for Ron's.
Well, I think it's everybody at the front, right, that doesn't have one. Ron is so sad.
He's so sad, though. He looks behind. He lifts up the chair.
Oh, my God. I
Poor
also
guy.
love Leslie's line so much of, Denver, you little son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's so good. Well, they're acting like they just won the lottery.
I know.
Like, it's ridiculous.
This is not as big of a deal as you think it is. Has in a little Oprah moment. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. So dumb.
But
But now we're back again. We switch back and forth. We go back to Tom's house, and DJ Roomba is playing while they eat pizza, and there's none left for Jerry. It's so sad. And there
Jerry.
were 3 pizzas. I mean, it's not as if there was only one pizza that they all had to share. Like there were 3, and they
Right.
all ate it before he got there.
yeah, like
And
Tom
Andy
does
offers his
later, where he
crust.
only gets one pizza for everybody.
Exactly. But see, Tom was buying at that point, so he only
That's
got
fair.
one. And there is a super touching moment that was cut. So when Jerry steps on DJ Roomba, Andy is so cute. I might record it later, but probably not. I'll just tell you. So there's a super touching moment where basically Andy is so deeply concerned for Tom because Tom is like, oh my God, that thing was like a child to me. And he's like, comes down and he sits next to Tom. He puts his arm around him and he's like, dude, it's been a long emotional day. Let's go home, maybe watch a movie, and like to his new place rather. And Tom's like, "Can we watch Deep Blue Sea?" And he's like, "It's a great idea." And it's like so special of a moment between Tom and Andy, and I just thought it was so cute.
Tom doesn't deserve him.
No, he doesn't. But okay, so now we're finally at the voting at the public forum.
Okay.
If people want to have Sweetums and Nutri-Yums in the parks, and they vote to have the Nutri-Yums / Sweetums in the parks. And Anne is very discouraged, but Leslie is her classic self where she's like, we inform the people. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
I
And
think
it's
Anne-
really funny that she's like almost encouraged, not discouraged, because she's like, these answers are more, or questions are more relevant than they usually are.
Right? Isn't that sad? But I think Anne's finally getting a look into like how depressing Leslie's job can be and like how frustrating it can be. So I think, I think that helps her too, right? Because she was once one of those citizens that were really frustrated with her.
Definitely.
So it's kind of cool for her to be on that end of it.
Yeah, and for her to see that like Leslie is still so positive even though all of this is going down.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then this is where Tom is informed he can't move into his new house because of a gas leak that happened. So he's going to have to move all of his shit into the office real fast. This is where the deleted scene is. Oh my God. Okay. So Wendy comes by to the office to bring Tom a picture of Jamie Foxx that Tom had autographed, which I think is a hilarious detail that should definitely be mentioned. But then she has this kind of super-ish, sincere-ish moment when she says, I just want to thank you. And she touches his arm and like kind of, not flirtingly, but just like nicely, which is not a move that she's done before. And says like, if you ever need to, like kind of as a joke, like if you ever need to move to Canada and marry someone, I'm your woman. And then Tom leans in and kisses her.
Oh, what?
What? He straight up kisses her. And she doesn't seem like that put off by it.
Okay, well, that's misleading.
So misleading. Like, she's not. It's so weird. It's so weird. Because
good job for cutting that out.
Yes. I'm so
Like,
glad they
damn.
cut it out. It doesn't make sense. Because he's super into it. And she, like, she doesn't seem to be, like, kissing back by any means. But she also doesn't seem to be like, ugh, gross. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, after they kiss, she, like, gets out of her seat or whatever, and she's like, okay, I guess I have to go back to the hospital. And it's like super fucking awkward. She's like, okay, bye, kind of like she left the pizza situation. And I was like, this is so weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they do share a kiss at some point, but they cut it, so that's good.
Huh.
But yeah, I just needed everyone to know that because that was wild when I watched it. I was like, so anyways.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
So now April's boyfriends are oh, go ahead.
I'm just glad they cut that out.
Me too. Are you at April's boyfriends yet?
Yeah.
Okay. They're making fun of Andy because they're talking like a frat boy, and she's like, bro, like, want to do some hacky sack later or whatever. And she's like taking super offense to it, which like rightfully so.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the hell, man? Like, we usually like make fun of those people. And April's like, I don't want to do that anymore. It's stupid.
Yeah.
For a gay couple, you're being really gay.
Yeah. I love that line.
Yeah. And now we're at the restaurant.
This is more people than I've ever seen Ron surround himself with on purpose.
I know. That's so real. Also, that was another thing too. So there is a deleted scene, which is, again, very un-Ron-like, but I think it's to prove a point because, which you get totally, like, without the deleted scene. But after the vote, Ron is like talking to the Sweetums people, and he's like, I'll buy everyone steaks and whiskey to celebrate or whatever. And everyone he says, and the whole, he has this line that says, every time the government shrinks, the angels drink a celebratory beer. And I was like, Ron, fuck you. And then very briefly, and then he like pointedly excludes Leslie because he's like, everybody's invited who isn't nosy, that sticks their nose in everybody's business, can join me. And I was
That's
like,
awful.
So
Dude.
rude.
Not about that.
Yeah, so I am glad they cut it because he becomes a super ass in this scene itself, so it's fine. But Nick Offerman did a phenomenal job regardless,
Of course
which
he
I
did.
think always. But anyway, so this plays the Boardwalk Lounge, which is what it's called in the show. But friendly reminder, it's Barone's famous Italian restaurant. This is also where Dexhart and Leslie met to have their little Christmas scandal moment. And, okay, I don't know if you caught this, and I'm sure I'm reading way too into it, but when they get to this scene of them at the restaurant, you overhear one of the Sweetums people being like, oh, of course I remember you. You're Chastity, right? And then they all laugh. And I'm like, ew, was that a joke about, like, a Chastity, like, belt moment or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounded weird.
I'm sure the name Chastity wasn't necessarily pointed. I'm sure it was more about, like, I get all the ladies kind of thing. But I was like, ew, you guys are so skeezy.
Yeah. So true.
So
disgusting.
And then Ron's plate has like 3 steaks on it, and it's really gross. And he's smoking a cigar, and I hate it.
Yeah. And Leslie, the way Leslie pulls him away is so respectful to him in front of those people, like, which he doesn't deserve at this point. No. But, she's just like, listen, you're being a dick. But here, take this because I still don't want you to die.
Right.
So take the alcohol thing. And even though if you do die, I wrote your eulogy. And it's perfect. Love Ron Swanson, a swan song.
Oh my God,
that's
so
amazing.
good. Oh,
Love
Captain,
it.
my Captain.
It's perfect for him.
And it only gets better from there.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the way she handles it because like you said, he doesn't deserve it because before she pulls him away, she's like, or he says, you know, even though I didn't invite you, you can come anyway because you're a free American. And he wants to smoke. But then this waiter, I messaged him too. He hasn't messaged me back yet, but I really liked how, like the timing of like, you can't smoke in here. And then it's too cold. And like you said, she does the eulogy bit. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's being dumb and he knows it as well.
Yeah. Although, how do you emotionally write a eulogy before somebody's dead? Like, I don't even want to think about anybody in my life being gone, like, let alone be able to sit down and write a eulogy.
I know. Maybe it's almost better to do it before they leave so that, like, you're in a better emotional mental state or something.
That's fair.
To, like, really think about who they are as a person. I don't know.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Very Leslie to be so proactive.
Oh, so Leslie, yeah. I'm at a Andy now.
Yeah, me too. And April's walking by the shoe shine stand and like doesn't say hi. Totally done this move in high school where you like walk by somebody like hoping that they'll see you, but you don't say hi, just like in hopes that they'll say hi to you.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to notice me?
I don't know what her ploy is here. Like, she's trying to get space from Andy because she doesn't want to like him. I don't know what it is, but she's like blowing him off when she's usually like wanting to hang out with him. And he's so cute. He's like, come watch me rollerblade. Like, I used to be so good. That was like 70 pounds ago. And I'm like, when you had 70 extra pounds or when you weighed less, 70 pounds less? Like, I'm very confused as to which way that went.
I definitely took it as like when he was like less heavy or 70 pounds lighter.
Okay.
But yeah, like I think she's acting weird a little bit because she's confused because everything is being questioned. Everything that she's kind of like built her stance around not caring about anything and not like being the person who wants to show feelings or vulnerability or anything like is being challenged. So she's like, oh gosh, I have to make a decision almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I feel like her weirdness comes from. But I don't know. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's just a lot
Yeah.
to deal with at that time.
Yeah, very true.
And then we have another, I feel like there are so many funny like quick cuts at the shoe shine stand, like where he falls over and then they quick cut. It's very similar to when he throws up after the snake hole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, and Ron comes to throw away all the rest of the Nutri-Yum bars, right? But he picks up an empty basket. It literally just has wrappers in it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think he's just like trying to trash them. And then he also sees her eating one. So he's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, let's not do this. But
yeah,
you know,
and
he
his
says
apology is
thank
very
you.
genuine and sweet.
Yeah. So,
because he's like, I really love Nick Offerman's performance where he's like struggling to say sorry, like he can't quite get the words out because he doesn't really say those words very often. And then he throws away the Nutri-Yums. And she said, I love this when like she still continues being herself and her classic, like, you know, mojo of who she is in this episode. Well, and just in general, but especially this episode where she tells him to put a coat on, like still trying to protect him / citizens, even though they were kind of assholes. You know?
so true.
So, but yeah, I really appreciated that she accepted his apology and was like, okay, I get it. But yeah, I mean, there was a brief moment there with Ron where I was like, you're being such an ass. I hate you right now.
Yeah, so true. He says a horse's ass. I've been a horse's ass.
A horse's ass, yes. A horse's ass. Which, like, I guess this was, maybe it wasn't on purpose, but it definitely lends itself to what we've been talking about. Why hasn't Tom said thank you or sorry or literally anything to tell them, you know, I appreciate your time?
Yeah. It's
so annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now we're at the tag.
Yes.
Which is hilarious. I love it.
Yes. It's very good. I
love this
just
little outfit. Like the little ghost thing. I'm like imagining April and Tom like cutting out a sheet and putting it over DJ Roomba.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Also, did they fix him? Or
did
they get a new one? Or like, I wonder.
I don't know. There's no way Tom has money to get a full new one.
I know. Because it seemed really damaged when
Yeah.
it seemed almost cut in half. So I wonder if, I don't know.
I don't know either. No idea. But I just love Jerry. He's like, I don't have the energy for this today. And he just keeps walking.
I know. I do too. I think it's phenomenal. And he doesn't really have any like Jerry reaction to it, I feel. Like normally he'd be like really scared or pee his pants or fart or something.
I think he's just I think he's over it. I think he's over helping Tom move and then being blamed for that and then not having pizza. And he's just like, listen, I'm over
this
it.
episode was kind of brutal for Jerry. Very underlying, but so brutal.
Yeah. Poor Jerry.
So. Well, that was Sweetums.
Sweetums.
If you can't beat 'em, Sweetums.
Sweetums.
I love that song so much. I can't believe I waited till the very end to say that or sing
do
that,
it,
rather.
yeah. Well, and next week is Galentine's Day.
Yes.
Love it.
So I will just like tell you, as I tell the audience as well, you're kind of, again, seeing how the sausage is made a little bit, but I'm thinking that I'm going to message all the gals that have ever been on our show, and I'm going to have them either be on it or send a message or do something. I'm going to ask Chris in Brooklyn if they want to join us to review Galentine's, because Galentine's, and
Love
if there's
it.
anybody who appreciates Galentine's, it is Chris in Brooklyn. Let me tell you something.
Love it.
So I'm going to ask if they want to come on, and then I'm going to ask our guest stars, like all the ladies who have been guest stars, if they, like so far on the show, like the actual show itself, if they'd want to send us something or even come on for like a brief second, but hopefully they can just like send us, like especially April Eden, like I'd love to hear her just say Happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can message us, but if not, totally understandable, but we do wish everyone a happy early Galentine's Day.
Early Galentine's Day.
And then after Galentine's Day, we'll probably take like a hiatus because of Christmas and New Year's. So I definitely know that there will be 2 weeks where I will not be editing. So that's just going to be my break for that. And
Everybody
then
can deal with it.
yeah. And then depending on the schedule, we'll see if it's going to be 3 weeks, because I don't know like how the first week of January will look for everyone. But regardless, we'll have at least 2 weeks for Christmas and New Year's that will take a little moment and everyone will enjoy. But we'll leave you with a lovely Galentine's Day episode. I can feel it. So it'll be awesome. And I know that our episodes have gotten longer as we've gotten more guest stars like that send us things, which I'm so grateful for. So hopefully people can just catch up on that. And also, this is super random, but I do want to have a shout out to Allison, because Allison, our friend / fan of the pod who's been on, has been so wonderful and so like awesome at keeping in touch with me and listening to all the pods. She has been sending me also pictures, because like for whatever reason cones keep coming up in her life, like the cones of Dunshire.
Yeah,
it's really random, and I'm like, what does this mean? For example, I guess this could be anybody, but she sent me a picture of if anyone watches Big Mouth, the TV show that Nick Kroll created with John Mulaney, the most recent season, what's his name, Ben was in it, Adam Scott, as a teacher, and they did a slight nod. I didn't like read about it or an article or whatever, but they you could totally tell that it was an Easter egg, because they put cones in one of his scenes, and it was definitely the cones of Dunshire. And so she sent me a picture of that, which I'll have to post in our stories. And then she also was babysitting one time, and the family had a cone looking like decoration on what looked like a media table or something. And I was like, oh my God, why do the cones keep coming up in your life? Like, what does this mean? Hopefully it means we get to meet Adam Scott soon.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah, totally. So, well, hope everyone had a lovely Thanksgiving or whatever you celebrate from last week. Hopefully a nice couple days off. But we'll see you all the next time, whenever that may be. And we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.